Morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be, and welcome to a very special extra interview of Final Cut. Today, I'm joined by an actor, writer, producer, and a director. So it's another jack of all trades today. I kind of feel like a collector nowadays. So, ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you Micheal Saquella.
Hello, everybody. Nice to almost see you guys.
And thank you very much for coming on. So, inevitably, the first question is, how are you?
I'm great. I'm fine. Thank you very much.
Glad.
How are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you very much. The day's nearly gone, but I can still enjoy the last couple of hours I've got. So let's get on with it. So how did you start out in acting?
Well, riding a unicycle, believe it or not. I played baseball in upstate New York, and I was riding home from practice. And the drama coach grabbed me and said, we need boys or whatever for the play. And I said, I don't do plays. And then I saw a couple cute girls. I said, all right. So I went into the auditorium and I read for The Music Man, I think was the name of the musical. I got the lead role. And when the curtains opened up, I was hooked. That's kind of how it started in acting when I was really young. It was more of a comedian than an actor. I started doing jokes on stage. Then I kind of got into real acting.
So, I have actually just pointed out you're an actor, but you're also a writer and director and producer, as I've just said. Did you always want to do them, or did they just happen?
Always wanted to act, but the writing, directing, and producing just came as I was working, just started. I didn't really have an ambition for it, but I hit it and fell in love with it.
Must admit, kind of fall in love with a lot of things. I mean, I've fallen in love with interviewing, even though on my first one I was absolutely near enough dreading it. To be fair, I still am dreading a lot of my interviews, but once I get into the swing of things, it just happens naturally.
Yeah.
So, who are your influences growing up?
I guess my middle teens was Burt Reynolds.
Who doesn't like Burt Reynolds?
Sorry?
Who doesn't like Burt Reynolds?
Yeah, Burt was. And my female fantasy was Bridget Bardot.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I was a kid, and it was like, wow. But now I look at her today, and it's like, wait a minute. But I'm old, too.
I must admit, I was not expecting to say Bridget Bardot.
Sorry about that.
No, you're right. A bit of, not so much uncertainty, but a bit someone who you never expect is always good.
Yeah, that's good.
So you have a new movie coming out called Dream Round. What is it about, and what's your part in it?
Dream Round is about a father, older gentleman that in younger life could have been a pro golfer. He was great in school, and he fell in love, got married, and had 2 children. Instead of following his dream to be a golfer, he decided to raise a family. But he got so into work that he forgot about the family and the golf. And then one night on Christmas Eve, the wife says, look, we got enough money saved up. Follow your dream. Be a pro golfer. He goes, yeah, whatever. He basically blows them off because he's busy with work. Well, they get killed in a car crash, his 2 kids and his wife. 15 years later, he's living in a trailer park in Arizona, and he's kind of a bum, hasn't shaved in weeks. He smokes cigars. He listens to golf on the radio, and he lives in a little trailer. Well, he wakes up one morning, and there's a ghost who's kind of like the wife who channeled through an ex-pro golfer who passed away many years earlier, who tried to roust him up, get him out of bed, get him to shave up, and let's get to the golf course. And meanwhile, there's a little 10-year-old girl that keeps coming over and pester him every day. She's a neighbor in the trailer park, and she kind of likes him because she feels sad for him. Well, the little girl and the ghost get him to go out and play, invites the girl to go with them, and then they go to eat apple pie at a restaurant. He meets a waitress, and that's the love interest. So with the waitress, with the 10-year-old, and with the ghost, the guy's finally going to clean up, get out there, start practicing. His nemesis is Richard Grieco from 21 Jump Street. If looks could kill mobsters. Anyway, so Richard is the pro. And my character, Joe Bona, I play the lead actor. I'm the bum, or the 15. I'm the guy that could have been a pro golfer. I have to beat him to get into the pre-qualifier. And I can't beat him. My mind's still stuck in my family. I'm kind of lazy. I just don't feel it. And then after the relationship builds with the waitress and they fall in love and things happen one night, and the next day he wakes up, he's like, wow, he's been rejuvenated. flipping pancakes, making eggs. He's so happy, kissing his new girlfriend. He goes to the golf course, and he just doesn't beat Richard. He annihilates him, and he's back. He's the guy he could have been when he was in college. He makes the pre-qualifier, wins the pre-qualifier, and he goes to the big Arizona Open. Stars Alexa Loman as a 10-year-old. I said Richard Grieco, and it's got Heidi Kaplan as the female interest. Another gentleman who's been in a lot of Netflix shows. His name is Greg Lutz, and myself as the lead. And it was written by me, and it was co-written by a lady by Melissa Houston. We both produced it. That's what it's about, and that's who I play.
Oh, sounds quite interesting. So if anyone who's listening actually is quite fascinated by it, wants to watch it, when is it out, and where can they watch it? Well, obviously in different countries it varies, unfortunately.
Well, we're lucky because it's going digital worldwide November 10th. It'll be on Amazon Prime UK, Amazon Prime US. It'll be on Redbox. I don't know if the Redbox. The digital, it's on everything. It's on Google Play. It's on Xbox, PlayStation. It's in Best Buys, Targets, Walmarts. It's, there's so many digital. It's on Vudu. There's just so many that it opens November 10th in 63 countries. So I'm sure they'll be able to find it.
I actually will find it because I have Amazon Prime. So I shall be watching it or try to watch it on release day, but I will watch it.
Well, thank you.
So, yeah, just moving on to another one of your movies. You recently did Carolina's Calling, which you wrote, directed, and starred in. I bet you filled up on coffee for that one.
Yeah, I did. I had Antonio Zabato Jr. as the lead male. The lead female was Stacey Dash from Clueless and Mo Money. I directed it. I wrote it. I had it co-written, or I had it, cleaned up by another writer by the name of Dawn Arvizio. She used to work for a production company in L.A. We shot it right after COVID started to open up in Arizona. We went into the mountains for South Carolina, and we shot the picture in the beautiful pine trees in a small little town. And oh my God, I had a blast. I directed it. I wrote it, and I had a small part in it.
Mm. I must admit, I've watched Antonio Sabato Jr. for decades, you could say, and I absolutely love him as a guy and an actor. So what is he actually like as an actor and a human?
As a human, we become really close. We're great friends because we're both Italian. He's from Rome. My mom and dad are from Naples. I'm first generation. As soon as he showed up, we clicked. And he really kind, really funny, and no ego whatsoever, down to earth. And he loves laughing, and he loves drinking coffee. He didn't even want to stay at the hotel when he came out. He liked me so much that he stayed with us at my place. He wanted to hang out. We watched TV together. We did everything as a human. As an actor, he's very talented, and I say 90% of the picture we got great performances out of him, and 10% was a little tough because the movie's a little technical. He plays an engineer that's creating continuous energy with his partner, me. But I die in the beginning of the movie. And there's so much stuff about electricity and all the technology. That was the part that tongue twister that I only wish he wasn't such a cute, funny guy. I wish he was more like a scientist. But, I'd rather have his looks than some guy with glasses and pimples all over his face.
That's very true, very true. Now, you've starred in a lot of movies. Forget About It, El Coyote, Lady Blues, to name but a few. So you're actually quite busy on just about every front, really.
Yeah, I am. But I like working, and I've been doing this since I was a kid. And it seems like every year I do a film. I do comedy, stand-up comedy. I don't do that much anymore. I do a big Blues Brothers review. I do my own blues review. I act a lot, and I'm in a lot of films. I get big roles in small pictures and small roles in big pictures. I got to reverse that.
Now, there is something I have been meaning to ask ever since I found this out, but you've actually starred alongside Raquel Welch and Burt Reynolds. Now, they're not really talked about, I'll say, in the last couple of decades. So what are they actually like? Because I've always been curious.
Well, I'll be completely transparent with you. Burt was phenomenal with me. And there's a history with Burt and I. Maybe we can talk about it later. But as far as Burt's concerned, on our set, not only was he a great actor, but he had great direction and he gave great ideas and inspiration to our director and to our cast. But he laughed and he giggled and he threw footballs and he played with everybody. I mean, he was like a kid. He really enjoyed himself on our film. Raquel, on the other side, she was a pain in the butt. You know, pretty lady, looked good. Boys were drooling, girls were drooling. You know, she still looked great when we filmed. But if you did anything wrong, you got your ass chewed out. I stood in her key light by accident, but we weren't filming, and she screamed at me, "Get out of my light! You're in my light!"
Oh my God.
And her makeup, she has to tape her face up and do the wigs. And you got to do in the contract, they put in 4 hours for makeup, which is ridiculous, but she needed 4 hours. And then the trailer that she was in had to move. Oh, she couldn't do the makeup in a makeup trailer. It had to be in her own trailer. And the makeup people had to bring all their equipment into her trailer. And then the trailer would move with the sun. So every 20 or 30 minutes, the driver would have to move the trailer to go with the sun all the way around until the end of the day so that she could look perfect in her mirror. Something, I don't know. But you know, her performance, her acting was great, but it's just she was a real diva and real tough to work with.
Basically, what we've just summarised there is, Raquel Welch is absolutely brilliant, but please, God, don't hire her. She'll cause you more headaches than anything.
Exactly.
All right. Oh, congratulations are in order. You founded your own production company, and your CV keeps building up. You've got a founder of your own production company, director, writer, producer. Okay, so what would someone with a movie in mind have to do to get you and your studio, which is called Cactus Blue Entertainment, for anyone who's listening, to sign off on it?
Well, if they have IMDb Pro, all our information is on that. You can go to it, and it's got our office phone number, office address, everything on IMDb. You can go through me on IMDb and go to my agents and get a hold of us through my agents. I've got a press agent. I've got manager. I got theatrical agent. They're all in Los Angeles, Beverly Hills. I don't have a website for Cactus Blue yet. I mean, we have Facebook pages and everything, but the best way is either through me on Facebook, Micheal Saquella on Facebook, and you can just message me and I'll talk to you. Or you can go through the IMDb site to get to the company. But it's simple because the same address and phone number on Facebook is the same as Cactus Blue.
It's quite easy to remember. And if anyone listening does want to see what he thinks about your movie, I wish you all the best of luck with it.
Yeah, thanks.
Right, so I've had many producers on here, but obviously people's definition of what things are different. So what would you class as a producer's job, and can you give an example of we'll say, a duty of a producer?
Okay, there's two kinds of producers. Actually, like three. There's an executive producer, and line producer. A producer is the manager who manages the whole film. He's like the general manager of a Walmart or a department store in England or in America. So basically, the producer is in charge of everything. He gets together with the director, and they decide, okay. So he's in charge of hiring production managers, production coordinators, everybody down the line, transportation coordinators, makeup, hair. He's responsible for putting all that together and then watching the budget. If he gets $1 million budget, then he's responsible to make sure each department comes in on time and on budget. And when they need more money, they got to go to the producer, and he's got to get it approved. And sorry about that. And And so he's in charge of locations. He's in charge of script rewrites. Him and the director have meetings all the time. I'm trying to think what else. He also decides to cut pages if they're over time, over budget, and they're running out and they don't have enough time. He has to go through and he has to make the decision. Even though the director can direct, it's his film. But the bottom line is money. So the producer has to go in and say, listen, this scene's not important to the film. We need to cut this scene. Or you know what, we got to cut some lines. We got to cut some pages to save time. So everything from watching the money to hiring the crew, that's the producer, the big producer. A line producer just manages the money and all the different departments. The executive producer is the guy that raises the money for the film. Does that help?
Actually, that's probably the most descriptive description that anyone's ever given me about anything to do with producing. So thank you very much.
Well, I got a lot more, but go ahead.
All right, then. Now, you're actually a writer as well, so I suppose the inevitable question for anyone who is wondering, is it actually as difficult as it sounds?
Mm, yes, because everybody can write. Everybody has an idea. Everybody has great ideas, and some people don't. So sitting down and actually writing a screenplay is very difficult because you've got to tell the story in 90 pages, 110 pages. But you need to talk in language for film. And the thing is that a lot of people tend to write stage directions or camera directions because they're uneducated. So they're writing a movie or a script, and they're telling you where they want the camera. We see a long shot of horses coming in, and then we see. I mean, that's the difference between a good writer and an okay writer is that you tell the story without giving directions. Basically, it's a combination of a book or a novel and a screenplay, but you also need the formula. And it is difficult because you don't really know where to put stuff. You know, they call it the transitional arc, and then you have to have the nemesis, and you got to have the three acts. And, and what's the subplot and the plot? There's a lot of things you got to figure out for film. Just sitting down and writing something doesn't mean it's a movie. It takes a long time to learn. I mean, it took me many, many years. My screenplays when I first started were terrible, and everybody laughed at me.
Because I did actually imagine before I asked that, it is actually quite hard because obviously you're trying to tell a story or actually paint a picture, but you're also trying to keep your audience interested. I mean, the problem I've always had with reading books is that, yes, say we'll take Stephen King's The Shining, for instance. What he can say, right, it's been done this way and this way, but my problem with that is I really can't visualize what his vision is, whereas with a movie, I can sort of visualize it. So how do you make sure what you've written as a writer and is transferred properly into the final cut of a movie? Just pardon the pun and the self-promotion there.
No, it's okay. Well, because I'm an actor, I'm a director, I'm a producer, so writing becomes easy because I've got the complete picture. I know what I need on the screen. I know what we need at the beginning of a movie. So when I'm writing, I visualize budget-wise, how much money, how big is it, what's the look, can I afford this shot in this script? So when I write now, I write for I write for budgets. Like if I think it's $100 million picture, I'll write for $100 million picture. But I've never raised that kind of money, so I'm not writing those kind of scripts. So when I write, I also know what audience wants now because I've had a track record. I'm selling my films now. I got distribution companies buying my product. And before I didn't, but now I do. And that's because of the formula in writing. How do you get the audience interested? Like you said in the beginning, you sit down and read a Stephen King book and all of a sudden you go, what the heck am I reading? So I have to hook you in the first 2 or 3 minutes. And if I don't, waste of time. And then I got to keep your interest. So that's how I write.
Very, very definitely the best approach, definitely for doing it. Now, obviously, we've done your writer as a producer experience, so I want to tap into your director knowledge. So, as a director, what's the most important factor when you look at a script and you try and visualize it to actually physically get it made into a movie?
Can I do it? That's the first thing. Can I make this picture? Do I know how? Do I have the knowledge? Mm-hmm. A lot of CGI, a lot of green screens, a lot of like Star Trek or the Avengers. No, I can't touch that. But, it depends on the piece. And once I feel comfortable and I go, yeah, I can shoot this. Yeah, I can do this. Yeah, I know the angles. I know the lenses I need. Yeah, I can do it. That's the approach I take when I first decide to direct. And I got offered to direct after I finished Carolina's Calling, a real crazy, psychotic horror film they're shooting in New Mexico, and they offered me the director's role, and I'm like, yeah. And I read it. I'm like, it's like one of those Japanese horror films. I had to pass because I could figure it out, but I didn't have any love for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my approach.
I'm going to say, sorry.
No, I didn't know if that was the end of that question. I think you gave me a 2-part question, but I think I answered it.
Yeah. I was just about to say, Japanese horror in itself is actually quite hard because I mean, some of the best horror movies in Hollywood have actually tried replicating Japanese horror, and it's not really works. So, in some respect, that was probably a wise call to do that.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Would you rather multitask on a film set, or would you prefer to concentrate on a single department? I'll say.
Can you repeat the question? I didn't quite hear it.
Yeah. Would you rather multitask on a film set, or would you prefer to concentrate on a single department?
I did multitask, and it's not good because you always miss different things, you know, continuity or something. I'd rather just focus on one, maybe two. Yeah.
Yep. There we go. They say men can't multitask. I give you the example that it can multitask.
Oh, yeah, I can, but I made a mess of it, but I did it.
Still did it. Still proved all the legends wrong. So, this next part is just a little section that I'd like your insight to, which I think you actually have a good insight into. So, what advice would you give someone? I ask everyone these questions when I interview. What advice would you give someone who's going through a tough time in their entertainment career?
Move back in with your parents. No, I'm kidding. Go home. Go back to Dublin, Ireland. I don't know. What I always, you know, I met Burt Reynolds when I was really, really young, when I was 15 and a half on a set I snuck into in California on family vacation. And he gave me advice. And that's the same advice I tell everybody else. I tell them, you know, you never quit. You got to reach for the stars. Mm-hmm. And you got to figure out, you got to harness some kind of, I don't know, not energy, but you got to focus on something that's going to keep you motivated and going forward. Because just like Marty McFly's dad said in the Back to the Future movies, you know, he made the comment, just the harder you try, if you never quit, because someday you're going to hit it. I don't remember the exact quote, but if you keep trying and keep trying, eventually you're going to succeed no matter how many times you fall. So many famous gentlemen around the world, from Einstein, I mean, all these great people, presidents, and I don't know, even they've all fallen, gone bankrupt 2 or 3 times, but they keep getting up and they keep going. You got to fall and get up, never quit. Doesn't matter how talented you are, or if you have no talent, just don't quit, because you're going to find a niche and you're going to make it. But the same thing, you got to find some kind of, it's like reaching for the stars. But I told Bert, I didn't know what the heck. What do you mean? I can't get up there. I'm a kid. So my thing back when I was starting was I needed to get a driver's license. I was 15 years, 6 months old, and I wanted to drive.
Yeah.
So then I realized, wait a minute, that's the feeling I need to harness. I was so excited about my license. So that's how I looked at my career. Everything I did, every audition for commercials or movies, I had that feeling. I got to get this. Oh, my God, I want it so bad. If you want it really, really bad and you really love it, then you got to keep going. And you'll know if it's not for you. I mean, if you're just some factory worker or some guy with no talent, has no right being in the show business, then one day you got to face the music and turn around and go home. But a lot of people can make it. Maybe not as an actor because you don't have the look or you're stiff on screen, but maybe you could be a great writer, or you could be a producer or a grip or a gaffer or makeup, hair. There's so many different departments in our business. There's got to be work for people as long as they don't quit. Once you get on, you know, as a production assistant, I always tell them, just go find a job in any movie, work for free for a while, work at nights at a restaurant or a factory, and then daytime, go work for a company. Go work for nothing. I started doing that when I was with, you know, Dino De Laurentiis and Sandy Cole, 2 big guys back in the late 70s, early 80s. I worked for free. I went and got coffee and got them sandwiches, got my butt chewed out every day. Give me some coffee, where's my sandwich? And I did it. But, you know, eventually someone's going to say, hey, come work with us. And before you know it, you're working. I ended up producing 4 horror films for those guys. So when I tell people, don't quit, never get up, follow the dream, just harness a feeling and keep that feeling. Every time you feel down to the dumps, just remember what it was like trying to get your driver's license. Remember what it was like trying to get your license to be a beautician or a barber. If you can remember all that, you'll always succeed. You may not be a Brad Pitt, but you can definitely work and make a good living in the business.
You should actually be a motivational speaker, because that was one hell of a motivational speech.
Well, yeah. That's another life, another story. I mean, I worked for side jobs for a while. I would get hired by big corporations, and I would go out and I would motivate the sales department. I would change the complete way they sell. And if they didn't believe me, I would pick up the phone and I would take 5 clients, and I could sell 2 or 3 from a dead pile of they can't sell this guy any more bumpers. I would call up and I would get that garage to buy bumpers. That's how good I was. And people hired me. I did work for Buffalo Bumpers. I did God, I can't think, the big vitamin company. San Diego's their home base. Oh, well, I can't think. I went to work for them. Anyways, yeah. I know what you mean. But I do that with my actors on set. That's how I pull out performances from a week. I had a couple of actors on Carolina's Calling that were weaker than the rest of the cast. I mean, I had Jacob Hopkins from Goldbergs, and I had, again, we had Antonio and Stacy. So now I got these local actors, and they weren't up to par. I pull them aside. I gave them the motivation, and they killed it for me. You should see the performance in this movie. So that's what I do. Sorry I talk so much.
No, it's not a bad thing. I've actually enjoyed listening to you quite a bit, actually.
Oh, thank you, sir.
All right, then this is a question that I actually think is quite relevant now, considering with what's going on. Do you think that cinemas will soon be replaced by movies going straight to, say, Netflix or Amazon Prime, HBO Max, Apple TV, all that lot, basically?
They're talking about it. I'm hearing about it because I distribute some of my own films, and I've been talking to the buyers and the booking agents who buy the films or rent the films for cinema, and they're like having problems.
Yeah.
And they keep saying digital's killing us. And I have a manager in LA that manages 8 producers, 5 film directors, and a bunch of TV directors, and he's big time. Been doing it 40 years, and he told me the same thing. He goes, man, why do you want to put movies out in theaters anymore? You can make more money streaming. And so my question is, I still want to be in theaters. I think they're going to be around, but I think a lot of them are going to close up shop.
It might actually alarm you to hear that some have actually shut over in the UK. Cineworld, which is the UK's biggest cinema chain, has closed all of its theatres until pandemic's over. Picture House has closed all theirs as well. There's only really Odeon, which I believe is owned by AMC, and View that has basically left for moviegoers at this point.
Well, they all opened up here, but they're only running at 50% capacity.
Yeah,
so AMC's open. All the big boys are open out here. They just reopened. But, they want me to put Carolina's Calling in for Thanksgiving, and I could have like 1,200 screens across the country, but we're not ready. The film probably won't be finished, ready to go in theaters till almost Christmas, but I can't compete. Too many big movies at Christmas.
Yeah, Wonder Woman's just been announced for Christmas Day as well. There's another one. I can't remember what it is off the top of my tongue, but there's another one as well.
Is it the Black Widow?
I don't know. I haven't really heard about anything about that, actually. I heard.
Yeah, May. They said May of next year, but I don't know.
I didn't get as far as that. I got as far as November, but I must admit I've not heard anything about that over here in quite a bit, actually. I assumed it was next month still. That's it. The other one's Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds in it.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be funny.
Yeah, if anyone who's listening and hasn't seen the trailer, I very much recommend you watch the second trailer. It only got released in the last week, and it is just typical Ryan Reynolds. That's all I will say on that point. Yeah. So we've talked about Micheal Saquella, the director, the writer, the producer, the actor. Let's talk about Micheal Saquella, the person. So what are you passionate about, and what are your interests away from film?
Well, my second love in life is cooking.
Really?
When I was a young kid, when I first moved to Hollywood, I went to a pizzeria, and the guy was having a problem with his pizza dough. My friends knew him, and I told him, I said that my grandma has a great recipe. Let's try it. we did my recipe, and the dough came out fantastic, and he started selling pizzas. I became a partner. We opened up 7 pizzerias. I sold out, took the 50 grand or whatever I got. I invested in the movie and lost my butt because the movie never got finished. Later in life, around the Burt Reynolds times, I opened up 2 delis in Arizona called Rocco's New York Delis. They did really, really well. They were in the black like within 45 days. People lined up to come and get my sandwiches. And then I opened up a big restaurant called Basil. So I really like making sauces. I'm an Italian cook, but I can cook Chinese. I can cook anything. I just love cooking. My other interests are, I love the mountains. I like going into the pine trees up high. I had a couple of cabins and just like getting on the quads or the razors, whatever, and just going for rides and just disappearing for long drives in the pine trees. Nobody around. That's really it. I used to bowl. I used to kick footballs. I mean, it's just, I'm too old to really get into sports anymore. I mean, I played softball for many years. That was great. But now it's just enjoying that Mother Nature and cooking.
Wow. You are probably the most complete person. In fact, if I ever go in Arizona, I'm going to look you up and I want to try this famous cooking of yours, because it sounds literally like heaven.
If you go to my Facebook page, I got a couple of my dishes on there.
Ooh.
You'll see I got my cherry tomatoes and angel hair. You got to take a look at on Facebook.
I will have a look.
Yeah, take a look.
I love my food, so that's why I'm even more intrigued now. So, right, so let's go off food before I actually get hungry. So, what would you say are your career highlights?
Career highlights when I first started, when I was a kid in a high school play, when the curtain opened up and I froze. And then at the end of the play, when they all cheered and stood up for me, that was a highlight. I did a show called Legends in Concert at the Imperial Palace in Vegas, Las Vegas, Nevada. I portrayed John Belushi for 6 years in a Blues Brothers act. And when I came back after training and I did 26 round-offs, one-arm cartwheels, handsprings in the show, I got a standing ovation for like 2 minutes. That was a major highlight. Couldn't believe, they were looking at this big chubby guy doing all the stuff on stage with sunglasses and my hat never fell off. Getting to meet Burt Reynolds, telling Burt Reynolds that someday I'm going to work with you. Not only did I work with him, but we became really good friends. His son Quentin tried to date my daughter. We were all buddies for a long time. Becoming friends with a lot of movie stars, flying Burt Reynolds in my own plane to the Minnesota Vikings game.
Wow.
I took him to the Vikings. We hung out with the owner. I mean, I think a good watching the footage from Carolina's Calling, thinking, wow, you know what? This is one of my best pictures ever. Sitting back and watching that. And then I think the best highlight was in the Dream Round movie that's coming out. I have a scene on the couch where I have a dream and I visualize my family in a car crash passing away. And I actually have a really emotional scene where I cry, and it was real. And the tears are coming out. I mean, it was like, to me, that right there was the point of my acting and my whole career. Where I had everybody cheered for me, and when we filmed it, and then when my mother saw it with some of her friends and a couple they all started crying and needed tissue paper. To me, that was the biggest highlight of my life or my career so far.
The only thing I will say is if you make your own mother cry, you have made it.
She was crying, and she told me that was the best movie. She didn't like my El Coyote movie, the Mafia versus the Cartel. She said it was too violent for her, but she loved the golf movie Dream On.
Yeah.
God, I had a brain, froze my brain there for a minute. Sorry.
So I have that as well. So you're in good company there, sir. So obviously you are probably working on other stuff. So what other projects have you got coming up?
I recently cast in a new show. It's a pilot, possible, picked up for 8 episodes. It's called Friday Night in Queens. There's 5 Italian lifelong buddies that, talk about all kinds of stuff. One was in a mob, one was this, one was that. And I got that. We're supposed to be doing the pilot in November in Los Angeles. I'm working on the prequel to Al Coyote for Prime. There's Amazon Prime. We have a potential deal with an Emmy Award-winning director-writer. It's what happened before the movie. When I first got into the witness protection, I run a restaurant in Arizona, and I'm like the Walter White of Breaking Bad. I'm involved with the cartel. I'm cleaning their money, and every episode, hell breaks loose. We're doing that. It's in development, but it looks like we're going to be greenlit. And then I just got a big YouTube company that has millions of viewers wants me and this art director that used to do all the Disney sets to do a Halloween. It's like a horror thing called The Man Who's Stuck in the Haunted House. And that's basically a guy that goes into a haunted house and he can never come out. That's me. So I'm the lead in both of those. So I got two pilots for a series. I've been cast in one, and the biggest is Mike Logan Returns, which is my dream project. Big film. A lot of action. Retired New York detective. Actually did the movie called Lady Blues. We did it in Buffalo, New York, and Niagara Falls back in the 90s. It's a continuation of that. My character, Mike Logan, and it's so much going on in that movie. I would need a lot of money, but I pitched it to Peter Berg, who directed Battleship and a bunch of other stuff.
I'm familiar with Mr. Berg's work. I'm actually quite a big fan of his.
Yeah, so we were in, Peter and I were in acting class in the early 80s together in L.A. And then Ventura Boulevard in Studio City, we used to go. Everybody from that class hit the big time, except for me. Anyway, he's an actor director. Well, he likes it, but he wanted to rewrite it, but he said we need $100 million. I mean, it's got everything from the United States Armed Service. It's got the cartel. It's got DEA, FBI, CIA, ICE, Border Patrol, ATF. Everybody's in this movie. And Buffalo PD, New York PD, and El Paso PD. So it's like crazy, but I can't wait to do it. I guess I'll tell you the secret. I registered the script, and you've seen the Avengers and you've seen Justice League. I'm sure you have.
Yeah, I definitely have.
Everybody loves those pictures. Well, what if somebody did a super cop hero movie? What about all these great cops that do films, but that's it? They're stuck in that one character. What if I took a Jason Statham from over there, and I took Bruce Willis from Die Hard, and I took Tom Cruise from Mission Impossible, and we took Riggs, what's his name, Riggs from Martin Riggs.
Lethal Weapon, yeah.
Yeah, Lethal Weapon, which we already got him to say, yeah. So you put 5 or 6 of these guys together, and the thing was, the end of Mike Logan is I bump into these guys throughout the film. One in New York, I get into the wrong jet. It's a Mission Impossible jet. You know, I meet the Chris Pine character that played Harrison Ford played it a couple times.
Jack Ryan.
Yeah, Jack Ryan. Yeah. So anyway, he bumps into all these characters, but they're 1-minute scenes only. And at the end of the movie, the credits start, and then we go black, and then you go in to a phone call. And the only guy all these guys trusted is this one ATF, head of the ATF. Everybody else is crooked. So he calls up and says, guys, I need to talk to you. I can't trust the law enforcement, federal law enforcement. I can't trust any of the agencies. Something's gone wrong in our government. This is what we need. I need cops from cities, New York, Chicago, wherever. I need you guys to help me. And they go, all right, we're listening. And you got them all on the screen, all these big actors, all their characters. And then they go, what's up? He goes, because of COVID and because of the wall Trump's building, the cartel is down to 10% of their income. They joined forces with the Taliban. And that's it goes black. And the sequel is called The Boys Are Back in Town. And then you got the same thing as Avengers. And all of a sudden you got all the great cops all coming back to do this huge freaking movie. I did it. I wrote the scripts. I got everything registered. I got everything copywritten. We already got 2. Bruce Willis, his brother, David, and I were partners on Al Coyote. He was in my office for many months. He's working his brother. We got another guy talked to Mel. He's on. We're just trying to get the rights. We've retained an attorney in Beverly Hills, entertainment attorney, to get the rights from the studio and all the characters. So we're on it. If it works, I'm just going to go to some big sponsors, big beer companies, big car companies, say, look, opportunity of a lifetime. How'd you like all these guys in one movie with your product? And that's where I'm going to go get the money and make this baby.
Well, if you've got all that lot, it is very possible. So I suppose with that being said, if anyone is curious about any of your latest projects, how would they find you on social media?
At Micheal Saquella on Twitter and Instagram, and also Micheal Saquella actor, or just Micheal Saquella on Facebook. And it's Michael and then Saquella. And you get Facebook. You can message me through Facebook. You can go to Instagram, or you can go to Twitter. Those you can. Because IMDb, you really can't leave me messages.
And on that, with a man being literally the jack of all trades, ladies and gentlemen, Micheal Saquella, thank you very much.
And thank you very much, Dean, and appreciate it. And everybody else out there, have a great day.